Hello, everyone. Welcome to another episode of Game Junk Reviews. This time we're reviewing Halo Infinite for the Xbox Series X, Xbox One, and PC. My name is Frank.
My name is Sean.
And my name is Andrew.
And just a quick bit of housekeeping. We'll be continuing with new episodes next week. Going to do some news roundup. The week after that, or potentially the week after, will be our best of 2021. We need to do some catch up still. Lots of things to play. Sean and I have been back and playing It Takes Two. We posted another 3-hour long Let's Play of that. And it is a great game. You're going to want to check that out or play the game. We got to get back to it one of these days, Sean. It's fantastic. But anyway, that's not why we're here today. We're here to talk about Halo Infinite. And we'd all played the multiplayer. Multiplayer released early. Everyone tried it. From what I remember, everyone liked it. Campaign dropped December 13th. I got to it a little late. You guys have been playing for a while. Why don't one of you guys let us know what your impressions are? I guess, okay, a few things. Sorry. We've all beaten it, correct? We've all completed the game. In terms of Halo heads, if you're listening, you stumbled upon this. You're a huge Halo head. You know every aspect of Forerunner lore, all the different Halo base numbers, the backstory of the Arbiter, whatever it is. We have no idea. I can't speak for the other two people here. I don't care. I will not be able to tell you about anything in this story, why it matters, what if there's big ramifications at the end. We're going to touch on it, as we always do with story stuff, at the end in spoiler. But if you're looking for story dissection or the meaning or philosophy of Halo, you are listening or watching the wrong thing. This will be talking primarily about the gameplay and design for the not first, but biggest open world Halo game yet. Who would like to start and give their impressions of Halo Infinite?
Well, I'll kick it off on a positive note. I will say I was a pretty big fan of Halo Infinite. I mean, I think I mentioned this previously on one of our, episodes before the Christmas break. I had played a bit, and the first 2 to 3 hours, whatever the sort of prologue is, it's pretty long. It feels like standard Halo. If you've only played that far, you haven't really seen what this game is. For me, once you hit the open world section, it was like a whole new world. It was like, this is new for Halo. This is pretty cool. You're kind of outdoors. You've got lots of things on your map that you can kind of try and do. There's like forward operating bases you can try to free up. There's what are the cores, Spartan cores you can try to pick up and find.
Upgrade your different abilities. There's elite enemies scattered throughout the map. Yep, armor pieces for multiplayer.
So lots of different things to do. And I wasn't doing a ton of that stuff, but like if there was things along the way to the main campaign missions, I was kind of trying to do them. And so that I really enjoyed. I just enjoyed moving through the world. The grappling hook, I think, was a great addition, and just being able to climb stuff was pretty cool. And so I was really enjoying that. And then I feel like maybe in the last half of the campaign, it really starts to just put you through this funnel of more traditional Halo levels again, where you're kind of indoors and it's just space corridors. And I wasn't as thrilled with that stuff, but I did still enjoy a lot of the encounters, the enemy setups, and sort of like having a few extra things in your arsenal this time around added a lot. So I really enjoyed it. Boss fights, I'm kind of not the biggest fan of the boss fights overall, but we can talk about that. But generally, I was a big fan. It's probably my favorite since Halo Reach. What about you, Huck?
Well, I disagree with about everything you said, except for that the grappling hook is good, and that the boss fights are shit. I agree with that, too. Other than that, I feel like the open world is more just like a wide linear level, and you are funneled down a very specific path, even though it's quote-unquote open, aka with giant cliffs on each side of you with one path down the middle. There's really not much to do and not much fun, in my opinion. I don't like unlocking the FOBs, which are the forward operating bases, which is a horrible name, horrible acronym anyways. And, you know, finding the elite dudes around, like, just not fun. Like, why would I care that this guy is standing in the middle of a forest somewhere just hanging out, waiting for me to come kill him? Not engaging at all. I don't care. The Spartan cores, okay, they're kind of fun because you get to upgrade yourself. But I also didn't do many of those. And I just felt like this game, how it tries to create engagements is by just throwing shit tons of guys at you and you just having to survive. That is like the gameplay loop. And I just didn't find it that enjoyable. And even at the end, when I was a little more powerful and a little more experienced with the game and felt like I was really starting to kind of get the mechanics, then they just throw even more guys at you that are harder. And that's like, it always seemed like I was boxed in on two sides and constantly trying to just avoid getting killed rather than trying to solve some sort of, you know, engaging combat puzzle. I almost stuck to the same weapons the whole time. I found a couple I liked, a couple that worked really well, and then kind of stuck with those. And yeah, overall, didn't really like it. I didn't like the open world part. When I got to the part where I could get a Banshee and fly around, it was like the heavens opened up and was like, thank God I can avoid all of these stupid fights that are on the ground. You could get a car that kind of takes you around, but usually, you know, the other guys have a tank that then shoots you and destroys that car, and you can't get that far. So overall, I would say my opinion is not positive. I do enjoy the gameplay of a like Halo experience. The controls I think are really tight, really good. I do really like the grappling hook, especially after you can upgrade it a few times. Like Frank will probably talk about, you can get an electrocution grappling hook, which basically became my primary weapon once I got it. And I really like the feel of the gameplay, but I think it's really lacking in level design and I guess encounter design, or whatever you would call that. And yeah, I mean, I'll go on more, but I'll let Frank talk for a bit.
Well, I guess I am the biggest fan of the game out of the three of us. I dare I say loved it. But there are definitely... Are you drinking Diet A&W, bud?
Indeed I am.
Oh, hello. Beautiful.
Woo.
Cheers. At least we can agree on one thing. This delicious. But that's not to say I don't have major criticisms and nitpicks with the game. Definitely, I'm 100% with Sean. Best Halo since Halo Reach. To me, this takes the idea of Zelda and makes it a more fun reality. And to me, improves on the things that Breath of the Wild, why it made that game stifling to me, and also has some negative impacts as well. The first, I'll touch on the negative first. I agree with Huck. It's not as open of a game as you might perceive it to be when you look at the map. There are gaps that look like they're close enough on the map to go from one end to the other. Like you can fly from one to the other, but it's kind of gating you within areas and heavily gating you in other areas at the intro, outro, and middle of the game. Some people, this is a personal opinion, some people might, sounds like Huck is like, well, that's not open. That kind of bothers me. I'm the opposite. I like that. I like when I'm focused within a small area. It reminds me of Mario Odyssey, and other games where it's like mini sandboxes that I'm kind of exploring, completing, and then going on to another. It's the freedom of open world without the like choice overload of what to do. I like a bit of restriction. So that's a totally personal thing. Now, what I do love in terms of the open worldness is locomotion. We always talk about that's one of my biggest problems with open world games is getting from place to place fun. I think the grappling hook is a fantastic mechanic, and I would make my path to my next main mission objective, and I would go from basically the collectibles and optional things, using the grappling hook, an occasional vehicle here and there, and that's how I'd make my way through the game. And it was really rewarding. And I cannot talk enough about how good I think the grappling hook is. It is responsive. It's immediate. It goes exactly where you want it to go. And I guess as a compliment to the world of Halo, or the game design of Halo, to me, Halo has always kind of thrived as being this heavily physics influenced shooter, right? Like, the whole hook initially was starting on the Halo. Gravity's not quite the same. You can jump higher. Physics plays a huge role in the game, with like vehicles turning over and bodies flying, and kind of like a physics sandbox effect of emerging gameplay. Like, that's what the multiplayer is, right? Like, people posting videos of crazy things that happen in that game as a result of the physics system. The grappling hook perfectly captures that idea. It's like got a momentum, and when you grapple up, you can basically, when you get the double grappling hook, if you upgrade it, you can climb any structure using like physics and momentum to keep grappling up a surface, and you can do it quickly. It's, I guess, in line with the challenges and actions of a first-person shooter. The way you do that is by aiming at an appropriate spot, getting the little change in your reticle. It's taking the core skill of the game, which is aiming, and translating it to locomotion. To me, if you can add a new mechanic to your game that embodies everything about an already great game series, that's about as good as you can do from a game design perspective. That being said, the grapple needed to be on a dedicated button, and the other abilities need to be mapped differently. Having to switch between them, like, I always want the grappling hook. It's amazing. The other powers are okay, but I really, you need the dash for certain bosses. Some bosses, I think, like, you could pseudo dash with the grappling hook. But that's the thing. Like, the grappling hook, it's not quite as good as the dash for very specific scenarios, but it's encapsulated in the other one. It's kind of superfluous. And I know the reason why. Multiplayer is the motivation and lack of buttons, right? But they want that to be a choice, a gameplay style or choice for multiplayer, and they had to turn these abilities into rotating options. I still think they should have found a way to map grappling hook permanently and cycle between the other ones. And on top of that, cycling between grenades and the abilities is the worst. I don't know how this shipped in a AAA, the biggest game franchise for this console. The fact that double tapping directional buttons to switch between abilities is in this game is an enormous failure. It is beyond comprehension to me. At least give me the option for a radial wheel or a pause or something. It never becomes intuitive. I was struggling with it till the very end of the game, mostly because I used the grappling hook the whole time. At least grapple hook is right quickly. I can remember that. But there's no excuse for this at all. No one will convince me that this is a good idea or I'm the problem with this. That is a problem. Agreed?
Agreed. 100%.
Yeah, I agree. I did not use the dash once. I don't think I ever used that, mainly because the grappling hook kind of worked as a dash in some situations. Maybe things would have been a little easier for me if I thought to use it, but the other ones I used in very specific situations. The shield occasionally if I was in a tough situation where there's a lot of people shooting at me, and the scanner thing only if you found there was somebody that was invisible nearby. I would drop that down. But then immediately afterwards, I was like trying to grapple, and I would shoot that thing out, and I'd be like, damn it, I want the grapple back. So I agree with you. And the grenades, I never once consciously chose what kind of grenade I was throwing. It was always just whatever was selected. I have no idea.
Yeah, I agree. But that is its real criticism, because why I love the game, and again, getting back to why I think it kind of takes the ideas of Zelda and makes them better, is like Zelda's whole thing in terms of, systemic gameplay is the weapons, right? The weapons degrade, so you constantly have to experiment. I guess the economy version of that in Halo is ammo. Like, you need to find ammo to keep a thing going. They've added ammo refill stations and stuff like that. But I enjoy using all the different weapons in Halo. I think after playing this and multiplayer extensively over the past few weeks, Halo has the best models, designs, concepts for weapons of any first-person shooter. Like, Resistance is close in terms of uniqueness and having fun using the different weapons, but every weapon is kind of different. It looks different. I love the look of them all, the feel, the presentation of every weapon. I actually enjoy switching weapons and, using them in different encounters. If you're like Huck and you're like, I don't even care, I just like using these core weapons, yeah, I could see why you'd get bored with this game. But I actually enjoy mixing it up and, hey, I'm going to grab this weapon now and use this for a bit. Like, that's where I get my variety of gameplay.
So I would push back on the Zelda thing a bit. When you say Zelda, are you referring to Breath of the Wild or Zelda?
Zelda Breath of the Wild.
Okay, so I do like this system way better than Breath of the Wild's, because at least in this, if you come across the same weapon you have equipped, you get reloaded. You don't have this issue of everything breaking, and then you have to manage this other level of equipment management, which is so annoying. But the thing that Zelda does is there's actually technically a reason for the fights, in that you get currency, which you can use to buy things. Whereas in Halo, there's really no reason for the fight. I agree with you. I agree with you that I was using the grappling hook to locomotion, but it was to avoid fights. I would go out of my way to go high up on the cliffs to avoid all these little checkpoint bullshit things they put in your way to slow you down, because I didn't want to waste A, my ammo on my good guns, and B, spend the time to fight these guys that give me nothing. There's checkpoints that have, maybe there's radio logs or something, but there's no upgrades in them. There's no nothing. It's literally just a thing to slow you down and maybe, like you said, get you to try new weapons. And
I guess at its core, if you like the gameplay of first-person shooters, which I've said this before, tried and true, it's a very good, aiming and shooting is a rewarding mechanic. And, if you like it, you'll probably like first-person shooters. I enjoy it. When we played A Way Out, we finally got to some shit. Now I know why games fill their games with shooting things, because it's way more fun. And I've said this before, not because you're killing things, because of the satisfaction of aiming and firing something. That's a really tangible skill. So I'm actually not surprised that shooters are the most popular form of games.
Yeah. Now, Huck, you were kind of talking before about, I think you were saying, because, so Halo compared to other shooters, you have this shield, which you get hit, you kind of have to take cover for a bit. It's not like a Gears of War, cover based shooter, but you have to, in order to restore your shield, you have to take some time to get away from the enemies. And you were kind of saying, well, that's not really what you want in a Halo game. You want to be the Master Chief. You want to be able to just kick ass and go in there guns blazing. Which, it's definitely not, I guess, like a Doom type of game. There is some strategy there. And I didn't, I think in past Halo games, I didn't do that as much. I feel like I always was running in guns blazing and not pausing when when my shields were down. But this time around, I was doing it. And I did find, in some cases, I don't know if you guys found this, but sometimes if you ran away from the enemies and kind of found a quiet corner and your shields recharged, you would get a checkpoint there as well.
That's always kind of been the case with Halo. It's like a dynamic checkpoint system where it's based on, I think, safety, how proximity of enemies and your shields and stuff. And I'm sure there's other factors as well, but I do like that in Halo. I like their checkpoint system. I think it's pretty effective. But in terms of, I seem to be kind of alone, and I don't know if it's because I upgraded Spartan cores. I found the game really easy. I the only times I died were me trying to cross those really big gaps with grappling hooks and like seeing if I could do it. Some I could. And also a couple boss fights. There are like these super aggro, like they just charge after you bosses. And if they hit you once, you can die. The one boss is really poorly designed. Like a couple of them where you basically have to be dashing or running or retreating from this boss, because in order to do it, well, the problem is it's kind of a ring structure for there's this generator in the middle, and then you have to go around the outside basically. But like when you're retreating, there's a million objects to get caught on. I would get caught on some little thing. So like I can't run backwards and aim because I get hung up on, or even worse, a physics-based piece of geometry gets in my way, and like, now I'm stuck on something. I died. I had that boss down to one sliver 4 times, and then like got caught on something and died. So that's my only gripe. I actually like the nature of the bosses. Like Halo 5's bosses sucked. These are better. Now, there is this kind of problem with first-person shooter bosses where, it's not like a Mario or a Zelda where you have like these kind of setups and variety of gameplay. It's like they're almost mini puzzles sometimes. Like there is this idea with a first-person shooter, like all you have at your disposal is shooting. And I actually like that once you like brought the shields, like the bosses were short. It wasn't like these huge and the elite enemies, like it wasn't like a huge war of attrition with phases, except for the last boss. It's like, okay, I kind of know what I'm doing now with this boss. I can get their shields down quick. They die. I think they recognized that the bosses weren't amazing, and I would agree they're not amazing, but I think they understand the flaws in their bosses, and as a result they make them really short with a few caveats that those bosses can be frustrating. I would not disagree with that at all.
Go ahead, Sean.
I was just going to say on the boss fights, like I feel like there is some variety in them, but I was also questioning, like, are there any good boss fights in first-person shooters? Like, is that like I'm trying to think of any that I know of, and they're all kind of not great. Like,
I mean, for a boss to be, my hunch is the best bosses in first-person shooters are stationary. Like if you can set up a scenario where the boss is stationary and like there's phases and it's testing skills.
That's true.
That's not what this game is. And part of it, I'm guessing, is because it has to be set up for potential co-op campaigns. That was the big problem with Halo 5 bosses. It was designed for co-op. Now, in my head, Resistance has really good bosses. I'm even going back to classics. Like, I don't remember GoldenEye or Perfect Dark having very good bosses. I could be wrong. I can't even remember them for the most part.
Did they have bosses? I barely remember, but yeah. I mean,
we should have thought before the show. Like,
well, they must have like
first-person shooter. Keep going. I'm gonna look this up.
GoldenEye had like the Trevelyan fight at the end.
Yeah, that's it. Like that's all I can remember. But I
feel like first-person shooters, quote unquote, bosses are more like set piece things that are like big things. That's what you would consider, I think, the boss. Like even in GoldenEye, like you consider like when you get the tank or something, or just even, I guess maybe fighting your way to the dam or something like that. But for me, for the bosses, so I guess we should say that I pretty much mainline the game. I think Sean, you kind of took the middle of the road, and Frank, you kind of got everything. So I probably struggled with it more. But I found the bosses extremely hard, basically for what Frank was saying. Like, it just seems like they're all aggro. They all just come after you. And a few of them also have enemies all around the outside that basically just constantly shoot shit at you. And I found that in order to beat a lot of these bosses, surprisingly with the exception of the last boss, I felt like I was cheating to beat them. Whereas, like, I was reading the IGN walkthrough, and they were saying that the last boss is the hardest in the game. And I I beat it extremely easily. And I don't know if the game like kind of broke and I just kind of cheaped it, but the other bosses destroyed me.
There was a couple bosses that I was struggling with, and then I just kind of got some weird moment where they weren't coming at me for some reason, and I don't know if it was an AI bug or what, but I was able to get in a few extra hits than I usually was, and then I beat them, and I was like, okay.
Yeah, it almost feels like you're cheating. Like you're not really figuring it out. You're kind of like getting lucky. It's like the game fucked up, and now I have an opportunity to get like those extra shots in I need. And I didn't find it rewarding. I found it more just like, oh, phew, like finally I don't have to run back to this area again to see this stupid cutscene again. Or I don't know. I had a lot of problems with the save system as well. I don't know if you guys, it seemed like every big hard encounter, I would not have a checkpoint in the room for some reason, or even near the room. I'd have to run like 30 seconds down a hallway to get back to an encounter all the time. And it was really frustrating.
I didn't have that issue.
I did have a couple of those. But yeah, I mean, I found the boss fights pretty hard. I died a lot. But, somehow I got through. I guess, there was a few where I think it was like, I actually felt like I was strategizing weapons, something I never really pay that much attention to in other Halo games, but like, using plasma to get the shields down, then switching to something else to take the health down. Like that helped when I started figuring some of that stuff out. But they don't really.
Yeah, I agree. That's a strategy you should use, especially for the bosses. Their shields will deplete quickly. They're not satisfying bosses for me, but they're also not frustrating. So not a huge win, but in the world of first-person shooters, not that big a deal. Now, in terms of level design, like obviously the key idea here, and we're debating how open world it is that this is an open world Halo. And in terms of evaluating an open world level design, I think it's phenomenal when you are in an open world. And my criticism would be variety of visuals. Like the whole place looks the same. Like comparing it to something like Ghost of Tsushima, where every area had like a color palette, a distinct idea, a story background. Like that's like, I remember all the different types of areas in a game like that. And this, it's generally like green, foresty, some water. Like there's a few showcase landmarks here and there, but nothing spectacular. And geography wise, if I didn't have the map, there are no like visual landmarks or things that I'm like, oh, I know I need to go to there. It's pretty generic. It would be easy to get lost in this game without a map. I have a map. It's not the end of the world, but I've played a lot of open world games where I'm like, I know where I am right now in this map. I can't say that for this game. And the game is way more fun for me when I'm in the open world. Like Sean said, beginning of the game, you're starting in corridors, and the end of the game, you're starting in corridors. There's a part, maybe 2/3, maybe a bit longer, where you go into a structure and it's a corridor section of indoors. You come up an elevator, I think, at the end, and you see the open world again. And I was like, oh, this feels so good. I'm so glad I'm going back into the open world. And then I was like 20 minutes and I was back in corridors again. So, I mean, to me, that's a pro and a con. It's like, wow, I love the open world of this game, but if I'm not in there, it's kind of a problem.
Yeah, I almost wonder if they had to cut some things to get this to ship. Like,
oh, I think so. There's those weird towers. It's not the collectible one. There's the propaganda towers. There's another one where it's like this weird circle, like almost a ritual took place there. And those have no meaning that I can see. They're just like, people are saying, oh, they'll drop DLC with that or something. I mean, I guess, but it seems like something got cut.
Yeah, I mean, for something that was kind of touted as this big open world thing, I think the fact that so much of the second half is not that open feels to me like they were like, well, we just got to get this done, finish the main story, and go.
Yeah, I agree.
I think I said, like, for me, I was literally just like hunting for vehicles so I could get through the open worlds faster because I was just trying to get to the next point. I didn't find fighting through those little encounter spots that interesting. I also found it really frustrating when like you'd come out of, okay, hang on. Going back to the AI for this game, or jumping back to the AI characters can see you from miles away, it seems like. And in the open world, like, you just cannot get away. They shoot you from everywhere. And if you come up into some of those encounters with the guys that can lob the cannon shots from super far away and you don't know them, you haven't noticed them yet, but they've noticed you, you're done. Like, you're instantly done. And a lot of that stuff I found really frustrating, where all of a sudden you're getting shot from like the left side, the right side, like you don't know where stuff's coming from. The sniper guys are deadly accurate. And I just found that the AI perception in the open world in particular, like, you had nowhere to run because there's not much cover in the open world unless you're in one of those like big environment places where they put tons of those blocks down and stuff. But I don't know.
I guess I had a different experience. I found the encounters, other than the marked places on the map, to be pretty sparse. And one thing I like about the game is it's not that big. Like, for me to get to one place to another, I primarily did it on foot and with grapple hook, and I had fun doing that. I didn't feel a need for vehicles.
Yeah, I mean, I also found, so there was, I went back in my frustration with this game and I fired up Halo Reach because I was like, am I just like, do I hate Halo now that I'm older? Do I need a boomer shooter? Do I just hate this game? And I went back to Halo Reach and was absolutely loving it. It had consistency and like tightness in just the style of how they introduced you to everything. And I felt like this game was lacking that sort of like cohesive point to it. Like, okay, yes, I need to go to that next fob, or I need to go to that next spire, but like, I don't really know why. Like, I guess this kind of touches on story, but I don't understand a goddamn thing in this game. It's just like, go to the next place. Here's your next like yellow spot. What
I really like I like the tutorial, like when it took you to the map and it like the map would move and be like, this is where you want to go, and it would highlight it. Like, it guided you through how to interpret the map. I thought that was really well done.
Yeah. One thing I did notice with Halo Reach is they removed like your compass at the top. So in Halo Reach, overlaid on top of your shield, you had like a compass. And if I know I want to go north on the map, give me a fucking compass. Like, I don't want to be pulling open the map to check which direction my arrow is pointing so I know if I'm heading north. Just give me the compass. I know I want to go north. Did no one else run into that issue?
I know, because like, maybe this is a big detriment to the way you played. Like, I would go to the map and whatever my current goal was, I would select it and it would show me it would show up in the game, and it was a perfect guide as to where I needed to go all the time. Like, you would run straight at the waypoint. Yeah. Okay.
But
I'd be setting waypoints all the time for optional stuff and story stuff.
Yeah, I did use waypoints a lot of the time, but I do remember there was a few times where I was struggling to figure out which way I was facing. And I kind of see Huck's point, but I think for the most part, the waypoints by the end were good enough for me.
Like, after an encounter and you get all turned around,
right.
I guess if you have the waypoint on, you just turn and face the waypoint and go towards it. But I mean, I use the waypoints sometimes, but obviously not all the time. It
is a user interface fix for something that's primarily like a, geography landmark problem, right? Like in Zelda, like, I have to give it credit. Like, where Hyrule Castle is, you can get your bearings very easily with other stuff in the world. So that is. And the verticality of this game presents that problem too, because there's lots of valleys and peaks and it's hard to discern one from the other. So it does all bleed together. I think that is a very valid criticism of this game.
Also,
just on the marker thing as well.
Yeah.
There was a few times where I set markers on like Spartan cores, and there's a few times when there maybe were like inside buildings or structures, and I was just running around in circles. Like, it did not direct you very well.
Yeah. I mean, the designer would say, yeah, it's supposed to give you a general area and the exploration skill is to find it within that. But I don't know how much fun that is, to be honest. Even just highlight it. And then the challenge should be, well, where's the door to this place I need to get into? Or like, that's the exploration part. Don't make it nebulous. Is it like 100 meters below me
Yeah,
or 100
exactly.
or above me or below me. Like, just tell me where it is, and then the challenge is to find it.
Yeah, I usually like exploration stuff, but something about this, it was just really confusing at points. So I don't know if it was a bug or if it was just, directing you to the point you had to get to. It wasn't teaching you or wasn't directing you to where the door is for that thing. It was just kind of saying, here's where it is, even if it's like way underground and the entrance is like pretty far away. So not the best.
I'm trying to think. I don't have any other like major thoughts. Is there like a general area we haven't talked about yet with design and gameplay?
I have a few nitpick things. Like, I didn't feel like the run really let you go much faster than your normal walk speed. I mean, they put those little like speed lines up, like, oh, look, you're going so fast. But I didn't feel like I was going faster.
After Biomutant, it felt like I was sprinting.
The slide is cool, though. I like.
Oh, I love the slide.
Okay, I could not figure out the slide. How the hell do you do the slide? Do you run and then hit B?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, I couldn't figure that shit out.
I slide all the time.
Oh, maybe that's why.
It's got very strong core mechanics. Like,
it does. I will give it that. One thing I did notice, those shield guys with the blue shield? So in the other Halo games, if you shot the shield, it changed color to let you know like how close you were to getting rid of it. This game does not have that. And I found that really frustrating because I would like to have that back. Like, bring that back. That was a nice mechanic to have. Even when you're shooting it with the like plasma guns that kind of blow it away faster, why not change the color still? I don't understand. It seems like such a small thing and such a big oversight that really helps you with your planning. Like, do I want to waste my bullets on this guy? After I've shot him a couple times, how many bullets I have left, kind of that kind of strategy. But just, I guess, a minor nitpick. But I found it frustrating that wasn't still in the game. Let's see here. What else do I have? Yeah, I like the environments as a whole. Like, I think we kind of touched on it, but the indoor environments look all the same, and then the exteriors look all the same. It's really a shame that there's no different biomes at all in any area of the map, even though the map is quite large. I mean, you have like, obviously you have those like, what do they say? The ring is trying to repair itself or whatever. Like those hexagon tower things. But I mean, that's not really that much of a difference. There's only one real landmark I remember, and it's kind of like this trench that you run down kind of early on when you get into the Halo open world. And then when I came back there later, I was like, oh, okay, I remember. I know where I am roughly on the map. And that is the only thing I kind of remember, maybe other than the guy's big tower that you kind of come across. But
I remember a couple of like a waterfall and some using water in areas to make them feel unique, but it's not that big of a distinction, to be honest.
Yeah, the water was cool. I don't remember if there was water in previous Halo games, but obviously, like, you can't swim, so it's kind of, you're just walking through puddles, basically.
Yeah, it's not bad though. And speaking about the corridors, that's always been a thing with Halo games. I will give this one credit that when you are in corridors, you're not in there for too long. I didn't find, like, I remember levels of Halo 1 where it's like the library or whatever, where it's like the same thing over and over and over again. And I know Huck would love to get stuck in a library, but I did not. I don't like it. And I will at least say that they've gotten better and better at, even though there's an intentional genericness to these alien structures, I never got lost. I knew exactly where I needed to go. Oh, and the scan is really good too. Down on the D-pad. It's fast. It's effective. You don't get into like Batman where I permanently want to be in scan mode. I use it at appropriate times. It's good scan. Good scan.
Pretty good scan.
I did use that often to know where to go. That was sort of like my waypoint marker, as I just kept kind of spamming that. And I I did think of one thing I wrote down here related to the design more, is that I have a pet peeve with first-person games that do this. I feel like this is pretty common, but I still hate it. And that is the, like, I guess it's not really a monster closet, but basically the doors that are locked until you kill everybody. Like, I hate that shit. Like, why? Just, if I want to run away, let me run away. I don't need. I
didn't notice any of those, but I was.
They are everywhere. They are everywhere. If every fob, I mean, the fobs make sense, but almost every door in the interiors is locked until you clear out the whole room. You can never proceed outside of a room where you have to hit a switch until all the enemies are gone. And
this guy was just trying to get through this thing. This guy was playing this game at 1.75 speed. You got to relax, dude.
No, it wasn't enjoyable. I didn't like it. I didn't like it that much. I mean, I like the combat of Halo, but I found like in this game, it was just about throwing guys at you, tons and tons of guys at you. And it became more of a game about dodging than actually like engaging. It was like, you know, take a shot and retreat for your life, because you stick your head out, your shields are gone, and you better run like hell to get your shields back so that you could kill one more guy before you get attacked again. Yeah.
I was going to ask you, Huck. I mean, we kind of touched on AI, but you know, Halo used to be really known for its AI. How did you feel about it in this one? And there are some sections where you have friendlies with you as well.
Yeah. So I thought it was pretty faithful to like Halo in general, but I did find that so in other games I felt like you could sneak up on enemies a lot easier. I felt like they did not see you from so far away. Also, they didn't like if you alerted one guy that was far away, basically everyone knows exactly where you are at all times. Like, I could run behind a building, come out on the far side, and I have 3 guys waiting for me, ready to shoot me immediately. Like, how would they know I was there? Or I could jump up on the top of a building, totally unexpected. I'm immediately getting shot. Like, that kind of gameplay where the AI is not actually seeing me, it just always knows where I am. I hate that. I do not like that sort of like omnipotent, you know,
omniscient.
Yeah.
Omnipresent. Omnipotent.
Omnipotent. Yeah, that's the word I'm looking for. Omnipotent AI. Like the fact that, yeah, I know you're an AI. I know you're the computer. I know you know where I am, but at least act like you don't. You know, the AI is not supposed to be.
Yeah, a lot of AI, in terms of making AI fun, is perception, not necessarily realness.
But that's what Halo 2 in particular, Halo as well, but Halo 2, Halo 3 were known for. All the enemies had this really amazing perception around sight and hearing, and that's why the AI was so good in those games, is because you could sneak up on them and plant a fucking bomb on their back and blow them up. In this game, you get like within one step of them, even if you're crouching. Not like they know you're there instantly. Like those brutes that with the orange, you're not sneaking up on those guys. It's impossible. There's no way in this one. And I remember in other Halo games, you could sneak up and plant one of those sticky bombs around their back and have a good go at them. But not in this game. There's no way.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's true. I definitely had moments where I felt like, you know, I alert one guy and like the entire camp knows where I am. But I also wonder if maybe there were some adjustments needed for, like, because of the open world stuff, like, you know, maybe because you can come at these guys basically from any direction and you have, you know, a grappling hook, you can be anywhere. Maybe that was a problem. Maybe they needed the enemies to be able to see you anywhere you are.
Maybe, but I didn't enjoy it very much.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I had no problems with the enemies finding me. That just seems to be what a first-person shooter is. It's very.
Hey, where's your gangrene light? I mean, you might as well have it on. I mean, it's full baller. Like it's like you didn't even play the game.
What first-person shooter, unless it's like heavily stealth-based, allows you to not get detected or lose enemies? Like, That's the nature of first person shooters. Which one is like, oh, they can't see me now? You're supposed to shoot shit right away.
Well,
until they're done.
Call of Duty is the worst. Call of Duty is
exactly
the worst for this shit. What I recall, like those guys are not only can see you all the time, but they are also deadly accurate from super far away.
Yeah, I mean, I had no issues with that, but again, not a perfect game by any means. But way better than I was expecting. I think everyone's thoughts were like, this game is going to be a disaster based on the delays, the video with the pop-in, all this stuff. And it was a very pleasant surprise for me. I love the length. It's about 12 hours. We know I at least love games that are about 10 hours. So, I mean, we haven't anything single player before we touch on multiplayer because I'm kind of running out of stuff.
Well, we haven't talked too much about visuals in general. Like
environments,
but
I think it looks amazing.
Yeah, I think it looks really good too. And I can't speak to how it looks on, like I played on Series X. I don't know how it looks on Xbox One or anything like that. But yeah, I mean, I thought it looked really good.
Yeah, I mean, in the first cinematics, where you meet the guy and like you're kind of in this interior, the lighting, like it's not showcasing necessarily, but there's moments when the lighting really takes over. I guess ironically, I noticed no pop-in at all when I was playing.
Really?
Not saying it doesn't happen. I didn't notice it. Yeah.
Oh, if you're flying a Banshee at like 20,000 feet and you're coming down, there's a lot of popping.
The old crow problem, right?
Yeah. Yeah, that's right.
We've seen stuff with that before, but yeah, visually, I think it's awesome. The character models, like the human characters in the game, and I guess the AI is kind of human, but I thought they looked fantastic. And the enemies, the bad guys, like the brutes, I guess, I was mixed on that. At times, I thought like their models looked kind of old, like low poly, and other times I thought they looked good. Maybe it was certain characters, but I did notice some visual disparity between the brutes. But
they might be doing some LOD. Like if you're inside, they can probably pump it up higher.
Cinematics. Like in cinematics, there was one cinematic. I'm like, that looks like Xbox 360. And then other times I'm like, this looks really good. So I thought the visuals were really well done. I love the presentation, like the updates on the HUD for mission checkpoints. It reminded me of like a movie. I can't put my finger on it, but really polished. Everything felt really polished to me, which was actually one of my biggest concerns because it was rushed and kind of in jeopardy. I'm like, I could see there being a lot of bugs and weird stuff going on. There is the main bug with quick resume, which I think one of you encountered. We were talking about.
Me.
There is the quick resume bug, but other than that, I had that happen once too. I had no other bugs. I didn't crash. I didn't have like falling through world, like which I would expect almost in a game like this. Everything was pretty tight.
Yeah. What exactly happened for you, Huck? What was the?
So I was doing whatever the purple things are. They're like outposts or something. I don't know, whatever they're called. They're a little bigger, like bases to kind of take over. So I had gone through basically all of one of those, and in hindsight, I was basically at the very end. And then I had paused the game I was playing on the Series X, paused the game, left it, and my machine went to sleep or something. So then when I turned it back on, it went to the dashboard. I click Halo Infinite. It pops me right back to that spot. I start playing. And probably 10 seconds into gameplay, it pops up this error saying, you don't have the license for this game or whatever. Go to the store to buy the game. And I'm obviously a Xbox Ultimate owner, or whatever you call it. So then that's it. Like, there's no option to like say retry or anything. It's basically like go to the store and buy it or quit. Those are your options. So I had to quit and restart, and I lost all my progress 2 times. That happened to me. The second time, I didn't lose as much progress, so it wasn't as big of a deal. But very annoying. Very annoying that should happen on a flagship title like this. I don't recall it happening on any of the other Game Pass games I've played.
Yeah, I feel like something like that happened to me a long time ago, like on the Xbox One, like with Ori or something.
I get quick resume bugs on Dicey Dungeons where like it's kind of frozen when I quick resume. I mean, quick resume is a great feature. Like everyone's like, well, PlayStation doesn't have quick resume. I'm like, yeah, I'd love that too. If it works reliably, it doesn't. Like, let's make that happen. Let's not praise it for something that doesn't work properly. But anyway, moving on. I think we've kind of wrapped up the main game.
Do you want to talk about the story a bit before we...
I was going to do multiplayer before story because it's kind of spoilery, but I'm fine with whatever.
Sure. No,
yeah, and I had just one other quick little thing to mention, like with regards to the grappling hook and how good the grappling hook is, the blast coils, adding those as a thing that you can grab with the grappling hook is amazing. Like that added so much.
I usually hate throwing things in games because they don't do much damage. The coils are powerful. They're fun. They aim well. It's not like a mystery as to where you're going to aim. I use them in multiplayer all the time. I meant to bring that up. Thank you, Sean. They're an excellent addition to the game.
After Sean told me that you could grapple them to grab them, it was a game changer for me, actually, because I was just running up to them and grabbing them, and most of the time I would die. But, that was you, Frank? Sorry.
No, I'm saying Sean did. I'm dumb.
But yeah, that was, I must say, like, the grappling hook is incredible in this game. That is the one thing I think it is really good at. And I used it more than my weapons near the end, I think. I was just meleeing everybody. And
I like the electro charge mechanic when you level it up. I don't mind the other abilities like the shield and the dash. One is far superior. It's way better than the other ones, and I resort to it constantly. But in multiplayer, they're all kind of good. I see, like, you start to learn new uses for them, and you can use them in inventive ways. More so in multiplayer than in the campaign. So shall we move on to multiplayer?
Sure.
I don't think we'll have a ton to say about it, but I am still consistently playing Halo every week. I get every weekly challenge. I've done everything possible. For me, it's the perfect level of attainability. These other games, the battle passes and the challenges are like, I would have to play all day, every day to unlock everything. It's very manageable for me. And ultimately, as of right now, Halo is my favorite multiplayer, or Halo Infinite is my favorite multiplayer shooter ever. It is so well balanced. The different game modes are really well done. Like, you always kind of have a chance. My one criticism, which I've said before, is because it's free to play, you can get matched up with people who just don't care. They're trying the game out. Like, I seem to end up on teams where it's like, I never had a chance because it's 4-on-4. Like, I'm doing great and my team is just awful. And it's like, I didn't have a chance in this game at all because of the matchmaking. So, I mean, that can happen in any multiplayer game. So I don't have a major gripe with that. But, with any multiplayer game that is not just deathmatch style, if you don't give incentives to people to play the game mode properly, it's going to be broken because people are just like, they just want to kill and shoot things. That's all they care about. They're not playing the game to win. So all of these games, Call of Duty as well, need to incentivize playing game modes properly. If you're playing oddball, you're getting near the ball. You're actually trying to pick it up. You're not just running around the outside of the map doing nothing. They have to find economies. Challenges is one way, but even that's not that effective. They need to figure out how to make people play game modes properly. As far as I know, maybe Overwatch has done this, but I don't know. They have not. No game has done this well.
Yeah, I mean, it's weird because, like, I remember in, like, maybe Halo 3, like, didn't they have, like, everybody had a level and you would only get matched up with people?
There is a ranked mode. Like, you can play ranked gameplay, but the gameplay modes are extremely limited. It's like you use battle rifles and that's it. There's no map. It's like a special, like, you know, competitive version of Halo. But they don't have the same matchmaking stuff for the other playlists.
Yeah, it seems like they should just add more modes to ranked then or something. But
it seems like they're doing that. Like like they started off with free to play. There was like 3 ways to play, and they're always, putting new ones in and mixing it up. So a lot of shooters do that now, but it is my one gripe with the multiplayer. But I just feel like timing wise, respawn time, damages of weapons. Actually, I meant to say this ties in with, the main game a bit. The newest addition here is the idea of electric weapons, like the shock, and being able to shock vehicles specifically. And there's also this idea of a chain reaction, but it's almost impossible to do. If I had another criticism, they have not made the electricity weapons like highly incentivized. I'm almost disappointed when I get them, and you'd think this idea of the chain reaction would be a lot of fun, and there's a damage over time element to the disruptor pistol and stuff like that, but they're a bit of a failure in terms of like fun factor for me.
I must say I really enjoyed the game, the multiplayer, though I haven't played it really since the first couple weeks, and now that I've really I wouldn't say mastered it, but definitely become more proficient in the gameplay from playing the single player all this time. I want to go back and see what have they added new gameplay modes or new things to it since kind of like a couple weeks ago or whatever, a couple months ago.
Yeah, like have you done Fiesta yet? Have you played?
I did one Fiesta, where it's like a specific thing you do.
I like Tactical Slayer. It's basically kind of like Golden Gun and Halo. It's like no shields. As long as you kind of aim in the right area, it's a kill right away. I love Tactical Slayer.
Cool.
Yeah, I mean, I haven't gone back to multiplayer in a while, but, played, a handful of 3-hour sessions, I guess. And it was a lot of fun. It was bringing back memories of fun playing, the first 3 Halo games. And, I mean, for me to even sort of have fun playing online with random people, like that's something. So, but I would still really like to, like, can you do like a local match, or not local, but like a private match with friends? Is that
I assume. Yeah.
That's something I'd like to try still at some point to just see how that is. 'Cause that would be a lot of fun, I think. But, yeah, I mean, I really like it. And I agree with Huck, having played through the campaign now. Going back to that, I'm curious if that would help at all for me.
Yeah, I don't really have anything else to add to the multiplayer because I haven't played it in a while, but I really thought it was well balanced. I really, like, now that I have more experience with more of the weapons, I think I would enjoy it even more because I actually know how pretty much every weapon works. And I said I like to stick to a couple weapons, but you are forced to kind of use all the weapons in the single player anyways. So I did get experience with all the weapons. I just found some I liked and kind of stuck to them. And I found that going back to the single player for a second, the weapon resupply kind of bins, very plentiful. So if you find a weapon you like, even if you get low on ammo, usually you could find a refill container somewhat close to where you are. And now that I understand how, like, the different shock and stuff work, I think I would enjoy multiplayer even more than I did before.
Yeah, and that reminds me, I mean, did we all play it on normal? And has anyone tried anything harder than that?
I played on normal. I hear it's one of the harder Halo campaigns on Legendary or Heroic. Do not know, though.
I did normal as well, yeah.
Might go back to it. I don't know. I was going to play it today. I didn't get around to it, but just to refresh my memory on some of this stuff. But overall, it's a great game. So, I don't know. Should we give our star ratings and then do the spoiler story stuff and talk about story a bit?
Well, I wouldn't mind just talking story in a non-spoiler way, because I just had a couple quick thoughts, which is, I think we're all on the same page in terms of we're not huge Halo heads, and at this point we're kind of lost with all the stuff that's going on. And I'm curious, like,
we're Haloweenies.
Do you think it's time for a Halo reboot in some sense? Like, just completely wipe the slate,
yes.
Start telling a brand new story so that you don't need to know any of this stuff that's
The
coming.
fact that I'm not even compelled to watch summarizing all the Halo games in 5 minutes, like I don't even care.
Yeah, it's a problem, I think. And I mean, I
guess in this game, like it really doesn't set me up. Like I feel like this is picking up where the last game left off. And I'm like, I don't even know the context for any of this stuff.
Yeah, exactly. And I mean, the other thing I was thinking about, and this may be sacrilege when it comes to Halo, but like the voice actor who does the voice of Master Chief, I mean, I feel like they were trying to do a little more with his character and like emotional stuff. Like they were trying, but when you've got that guy just kind of doing the Master Chief voice, like there's nothing there. And I know people like that, and maybe they like that about the character, that he's kind of this cipher. But I mean, if you're going to do something more story wise, you got to do something with the
I'm
voice.
the opposite. I would lean in the other direction. I would be make him like this more of a robot deadpan character. Yeah. Like I don't want him to start to kind of, now he wants to fight for what's right. Or like he's like a...
Well, I kind of feel like he's doing that like with Cortana. Like,
of course.
I know what's happening to Cortana. My Cortana.
Yeah. And they're trying to get this Cortana. Like, this is like...
I got my Cortana light now.
Like her... Like the movie Her, Romeo and Juliet or something. Like, I don't care about either. Like, it's an AI at the end of the day. Like, you're not going to make me... I don't care if you name every search engine Cortana and plaster it everywhere. I'm still not going to care. I do not care. I like the character of Cortana. I think, like, it's probably one of the best aspects of Halo, which maybe I don't understand what weapon is or...
That, like, I was just going to bring that up.
I just wish it was Cortana.
The fact that they don't actually give any of the characters really a name, and if they do give a name, it's like this almost like convoluted, hard to remember name. Like, okay, Atriox, I remember now. Okay, only because he's kind of like around in the story kind of through the whole thing. But then the other guy who's around is like Enchilada or something, like Chama. Like, what is that guy's name? And then you got, no one knows. And then you got Harbinger. Okay, I remember Harbinger like from some of the other games, and they say it a lot. Like, they talk about it. Like, but then you have Weapon. Like, what kind of name is Weapon? Like, am I supposed to remember that?
The other main character is just called Pilot, I think, right?
No, it's called Echo 216 or something.
Yeah, and that's a part. I guarantee you, somewhere a story person on this game is saying like, this is about revealing like who you are. Like, is at the end of the game, everyone kind of picks their like the you find out that person's name,
identity,
right? And all that. And I'm guessing that's a thematic thing in the game, but I certainly didn't get it while I was playing the game. It's like a bit of a point at the end, but nothing about the rest of the game to me echoes that sentiment at all. It's like,
you know what I want to see? I want to see Halo go Fast and the Furious. I want to see them go over the top stupid. Because like so many of the scenes in this game, like, okay, prime example, this is a bit of a spoiler, but the pilot is getting tortured. And then you free him after he's been tortured for like 4 days straight. And then he just walks it off and starts like cracking jokes like nothing just happened. Like, what the hell? Like, at least, I don't know, like you're like trying to be serious, but then you like had these fatal flaws in your storytelling that just undercut everything. All the jokes like just don't hit at all. Like they're trying to make a joke and I just was like, that is just horrible.
I remember having questions at times like, I don't remember. At one point, he drops you off with the ship, and then why doesn't he just drop me off everywhere from that point on? Like, exactly. I don't remember the exposition reason why that doesn't happen. I don't know why this guy is even sticking around. Like, this is pretty dangerous. Like,
yeah. And he's not even like a real pilot. He's like some hack guy.
Couldn't we just mount some guns on the ship and go around and shoot everything and blow? Like, I mean, it's not a great story. There's no other way to put it. Like, Halo heads, relax. If you think it is, it's okay. You're wrong. Deal with it. It's not a big deal.
Did you guys get the feeling that some of the writers were like poking fun of the design throughout the game? Because there was like lines where like the door is locked, and there's like Cortana or whatever her name is, weapon will be like, oh, I guess not surprised to see that the door's locked again. Like they're just like poking fun that all they do is lock the door.
Yeah, that feels like a meta element I think a lot of games are doing now. But
I guess, but like in this game that's trying to take itself so seriously and like play the Halo music, like, oh, we got this big operatic Halo music, like let's get all hyped. And then they're like making fun of the designers for locking the doors and having shitty level design. Like I just found there's like a bunch of spots where they're just like almost like beating you over the head, or even like after you like hit a switch and you like know what to do next, weapon comes in is like, I think we should go up these stairs and check out the next area. Like, no shit, I just opened that door. That's where I'm going next. You don't need to tell me. I literally just did it.
Yeah, I mean that's what like their attempts at humor are though most of the time is just kind of like a little bit of meta
I found it more
stuff.
frustrating and annoying. Like, you don't need to tell me this. Like, if I'm
this is
lost,
a bit of a story thing,
me.
and like more of a visual thing. Like the game starts with finding like a Spartan disc. I don't know what it is, like that thing that goes in the back. Like I really like the visual presentation of that. And like when you come across other Spartans, like you have their kind of this thing with the green ring. I don't remember if that was in other Halos, but I really like it.
Like, isn't that what gives you like each of the powers you have? Like,
yeah, like you're getting them from other Spartans. But I thought the visualization of that circle, it comes up a few times with like a green ring around it. I mean, kind of tied in with Xbox as well. I thought that was a nice visual touch.
Well, they also like, in regards to those, when you find those down soldiers that have the equipment and everything, they almost like have this little backstory of the guy and how he died. And they kind of like foreshadow almost like you're going to figure out what happened to them. And it almost seems like they give you this big heartfelt story and they're just like, see you, bud. Thanks for the upgrade. And just take off. Like,
I'll tell you another thing. I have no context, understand why there are all these, is it UNSC, like troops or like, I don't know the context for this Halo or whatever it is, why you're like, what, why other people were there. Like I mean, now I want to be very clear. I also don't care at all. It doesn't bother me that I don't know, but like, that's not why I play these games. It does not matter to me at all. I agree with, I think Sean kind of kicked this off. I think it might be time for a reboot or, a reimagining of Halo in some way, even going like the ODST route or something like that. Like that was, kind of a unique story in the world, not tied to Master Chief. I'm down with that for sure.
Yeah. And I mean, that's one of the things, like in terms of this being like keeping up with what other games, next gen games are doing. Like, it feels like that's a big area where Halo is really behind, is just story and like maturity, I guess, like they're trying to delve into these themes of war and loss. And then like Huck said, like 1 second somebody's getting tortured and the next second they're like, hey, cracking jokes. And it doesn't work.
Yeah. Also, another aspect of the storytelling in general that I feel doesn't work is these like giant Shakespearean monologues that the bad guys go off on through video conferencing call. Like
video hologram call.
Hologram call. Like, who cares? I just walk away. Like, if I'm in control, see ya, bud. I'm out. Like, I'm going on to the next checkpoint. I'm not sitting around and listening to shit.
Yeah.
I don't like. It seems like such a.
You can view that as a plus, though. Like, it's like
I did.
They're only putting it there for the Halo heads. If you don't like it, you don't have to watch it. Beat it. Fine.
But I mean, he keeps talking to me. Does he not know I'm out? Like, shut up, bud. Like,
no. He doesn't.
Yeah, and I think we mentioned that they have like audio logs in this game as well, which I've always been a fan of these because you can get
one of the greatest inventions in video game history. BioShock audio collectibles.
You get some story, but you don't stop moving. You keep doing what you want to do. But here again, like story wise, I had no idea what was going on. Like,
couldn't tell you what happened in one of those audio logs.
and you know what the funny thing is that in the Spire things, there's like the 4 spires you need to unlock or whatever. They would always put one of them right at the end. So you'd pick it up, it would start playing, and then you go to the button you need to press, and then it cancels the audio log like right away. Like, could you not have put it maybe 2 minutes down the hallway so that I could pick it up and listen to it as I'm getting here? It just seems so weird. Like, what a weird level design placement for that thing. Like, okay, I get it. You're at the end. You want a little bit of a reward, but like, give me something else that's not. Give me an upgrade. Give me a Spartan core. Don't give me an audio log that I'm supposed to listen to right before you play a main storyline audio log. Like, I didn't get it. It seems so weird of a placement for those things.
Also, oh shit, what was I gonna say? Fuck, dude, I lost it. You were talking about audio logs. Oh, collectibles. Like, I know skulls. The skulls are notoriously hard to find. Did anyone find a skull? I didn't find a single skull on my own.
No.
And they're usually in the craziest places. Like, I remember in Halo 1, you have to do like a double grenade, like make yourself jump onto a grenade to get up to certain ones. And like, you throw in an open world and a grappling hook,
you're never finding those.
Where I wouldn't even, like, it's almost a barrier to entry. I'm aware of how bad these things can be. I'm like, the number of possibilities is insane.
Yeah, like when you start the game, I think, or like maybe just on the pause menu or whatever, somewhere in there it says like skulls active. Like, and it's there from the beginning of the game. And I'm like, oh, what are these skulls? I'm sure I'm going to find out. And nope. So,
well, like how the skulls work, right? Each skull like is like a variety on gameplay. So
yeah, I assumed like that's what it was, but it just, they don't tell you, and yeah, they're apparently very hard to find.
Yeah, like maybe just guide the player to one skull or something, and
might have been nice to find one.
I would have paid if you would have let me like highlight those skulls on a map or something. I would have paid money for that. If you're trying to monetize this thing.
Mm-hmm. Okay, there you go.
Okay. Star ratings. I have nothing spoiler to talk about story-wise that I need to.
Yeah, I'm kind of feeling like, I was going to say, like, I read there was like a discussion about the ending and what it means and how there's a different ending for Legendary. And I was kind of like, it's kind of interesting, but I'm also like, as I'm reading all of it, I don't know what any of it means, and I assume you guys don't either. So we probably don't need to delve into it.
Okay, no one. I thought, Sean, you might have thoughts on the nature, or Huck, actually, the nature of the AIs and what they mean in this, because I do not.
No, I don't know why they just don't throw them all out and say, "Fuck it, I'm out." Like, I don't get it. Like, why not? Why'd they even make? Why even do what they did?
It also seems like these AIs don't learn. Like, Master Chief, probability of something, of the probability of success is below 5%. Advise you not to go. Have you not learned that Master Chief doesn't die? Like, you should be like, yeah, it's impossible. You're going to be great at it. Obviously, you're Master Chief. Like, why would anything stop you?
Well, I have one little spoiler thing, which I don't think really matters, but we were kind of talking about how the plot holes, but
whoa. So
yeah.
should we do a star rating?
This is if we're going to do a spoiler review.
Okay. All right.
It's okay.
I have like a 2-minute thing, but we can do it at the end.
Okay. So let's give our star ratings then, out of 5.
Yeah, this is a tough one. It's between 4 and 4.5 for me. But I think I'm going to bump it up to 4.5.
Wow. Well, I was going to give it a 2, but I must say the multiplayer is excellent. So because of multiplayer, I'll give it a 3 out of 5.
It is a heavy 4.5 for me.
Just midway give it the 5. You already
midway through the game, I would have said it was a 5 for sure. The end definitely, like, when I'm not outdoors, it does suffer. But the multiplayer is amazing. Like, the multiplayer is a 5 for me. I kind of want to give it a 5, but in my heart of hearts, I cannot. It's a 4.5.
You guys are smoking the gangrene right now. Big time.
So that's the Halo Infinite review. If you don't want any spoiler stuff, check out now. And thanks for listening. Bye-bye. All right, Halo Infinite spoilers. Huck, go.
So there's this one scene, I guess it's kind of near the end, maybe 3/4 of the way through, where I don't even remember what you're doing, but you're in a inside area that all look the same. And then your Cortana twin, just like opens a warp hole for you and just like travels you to some other part of the world. Do you remember this?
Nope.
I don't even remember this.
Okay, it's the part where I think it's the part where the one spire thing is blowing up or whatever, or the thing, I don't know, you're in something, it's blowing up, and she just like opens this warp tunnel and she's like, get in, and she's like, we don't really know where it goes, or something like that. Or no, that was later. Another one opens up. It's like, well, why didn't you just open these fucking warp holes for me all the time, and I could just warp right into the middle of the spire boss guy right away? Am I crazy? Yep. Did this happen? I'm pretty sure this happened.
I don't think you're crazy. I don't remember it, but yeah, it's a valid point if it's true.
Anyways, minor thing, I guess. Yet another story plot hole that I'm like, what the hell is going on in this game? Just open these things up for me all the time. Maybe it was because she was at some sort of computer terminal and can do it, but I don't know. In terms of also, we didn't really talk about the final boss, but the final boss is Harbinger, who's seems to be a stick around person that's referenced often in Halo.
But that's is that the same species as those people in the floating chairs in Halo 2 or something?
I don't know.
It says here, Harbinger is an emissary of an ancient civilization, the Endless, who were imprisoned thousands and thousands of years prior to the start of Halo Infinite.
Yeah, I can't make sense of. Well, the Flood is a weapon designed by them, or is a Flood a biological weapon?
I think so. I think you're right. I don't know for sure though.
But I don't know who came up with it. The Forerunners, I don't know.
These terms are meaningless to me. We were saying.
I will admit though, they're good names. All the names they have for this stuff, the Flood, the Forerunners, those are fucking solid names. They just don't mean anything to me.
Yeah, it's almost like they don't cement it in the real world in any way, except in these occasional cutscenes you see, which then are monologues. So you don't even really have any interaction with them. I feel like I'm watching a video and it could have been shot at any time. I don't really feel like those people are talking to me. It's so weird. Yeah,
there's also the idea, one thing we didn't touch on, this one is clearly leaning into Halo 1 nostalgia, where they're it seems what is it? The library and the is it librarian or architect or something in that one? There's different versions of all those terms in this game. They're parallels to it was the silent cartographer in Halo 1, right? And then now it's the silent conservatory or something in this one.
Silent auditorium.
Silent auditorium, that's it. Right. So they're really leaning into, it's almost like a Force Awakens scenario with, obviously they're both Halo structures. So it kind of makes sense, but to me, every Halo, they'd be called the same thing on the different Halos. So I don't understand that at all.
Okay. Yeah, I found a video of the teleporter thing. It's in the boss area when you fight those two ships that are shooting in the tower at you.
Oh, that was a good boss fight. That was fun.
And then your Echo guy comes up in the ship, and then the Hunter Killer guy is in there. And then after that, you're like, oh, we got to go get him. And then she's like, let me just open this magic portal for you, and let's teleport there. You're like, what the fuck? This game. What a 5 out of 5 game.
No one gave it a 5 out of 5.
What a 4.5 heavy out of 5. So anyways,
just a couple other story things that just on more a higher level of things they're doing. So they do play into this idea, which I think they've done for a few games now, just that the Master Chief is hope. People look at the Master Chief as this symbol of hope, and how Pilot, that guy, when Master Chief comes to save him, he's like, oh, well, now
you can't spell hope without OP.
Yeah. So they play into that a bit. Again, it kind of seems weird. There's the whole relationship with Master Chief and this weapon, which is, I guess, the copy of Cortana. And as we've already mentioned, Cortana turns evil, I guess, in the last game, but none of us remember that.
And then Cortana dies.
Right.
As much as an AI can die.
So I'm thinking to myself, like, a few possible things could happen here. Like, I thought the weapon also turns evil because it's the same code as Cortana or something, and it's inevitable it's going to turn evil, but that doesn't
Wasn't it all part of the plan? Like, isn't it?
Maybe. I mean, it's definitely possible. I don't know enough to say for sure, but like, you know, there is this moment where she gets mad at Master Chief because I can't remember what happened.
He's about to delete her.
Oh, right. Or he had no problem deleting her if he had to do that. And it's like
the right response to have, especially now that we've established there's like clones and versions of all these AIs anyway. Like AIs, yeah, whatever. See ya.
Like that's,
just delete them all.
like that's one of the few like story moments I kind of remember from the game, just because it's like a character thing, and I don't know, just like it just makes you think like you could do so much more. It doesn't even have to all make sense, but like there could be beats that you remember and like plot elements that are shocking or surprising, but it's just such a mess that, I mean, I don't know. It did nothing for me.
Its biggest flaw is it depends way too heavily on a knowledge of previous Halos.
Yeah, and so just real quick with the legendary ending, apparently there's like, I mean, I'm probably going to get this wrong. I could just read it off here, but something to do with time travel, where they're like, it's very similar ending, but there's like radio transmissions in the background that are like giving like time periods as to when certain things happen or something. So people are thinking that now time travel is being introduced in the next Halo game, and it's like, oh god, like that's the last thing they need.
There's your reboot.
Well, portals.
It could be a reboot, yeah, but it could also just make it even more of a mess, which, you know, is definitely possible.
Yeah, because time travel is so easy to wrap your head around when you're trying to tell a story.
Yeah.
I want to talk a little spoiler, I guess, about the final boss. Like, so we didn't talk about the final boss fight, but so after struggling with all the other bosses in the game, except maybe that robot with the 4 lights you have to shoot, I found it extremely easy. I don't know about you guys, but I had the Mangler, which was kind of like my go-to weapon, which is basically like a very strong pistol.
I hate the Mangler. Sean loves the Mangler too.
Love the Mangler.
I hate it.
I was all over that. It's the only thing with like any sort of punch. And then
no wonder you hated this game if you're using the fucking Mangler.
Well, okay, what weapons did you? So my standard near the end was the Mangler and the Sentinel Cannon. Or the Sentinel Ray, or whatever you call it.
Oh, those are my 2 least favorite weapons.
Oh no, the Sentinel Ray is badass.
Oh, I don't like it.
I fucking destroyed the end boss with the Sentinel Ray. Like, it took literally 3 minutes to beat the entire thing. And I did it on my 2nd or 3rd try. Whereas all the other bosses were 20, 30-minute marathons of restarting.
My favorite weapon, like, just in terms of, like, feels the best to me is still the sidekick pistol. Like, your classic pistol.
Yeah.
The most fun new weapon to me is the skewer. I really like the skewer.
Yeah, that's pretty good.
The Hydra's neat. I like the cinder shot. I love all of them.
Even old weapons that I never liked, I actually enjoyed in this game. So like they've tweaked some of them, I think.
I don't like them all in multiplayer, but I like them all in the campaign.
So just on that final boss fight though, the problem I kept having is like, you know, there's all these waves of enemies that you have to kill before you kind of are able to fight that final boss. And the very last one is that guy who comes at you with like the hammer or whatever. And he's like so hard to beat. So, and I kept like, I would beat him and then I would get to fight the Harbinger. Then I die and then I have to beat him again. And so like, I just kept having to like, I read that there was supposed to be a checkpoint in between the two, but I never got it. So I was really annoyed by that. But in the end, like I just found that, and I read this as a strategy, if you like hide under one of those little tunnel things, like when like Harbinger's like throwing energy orbs at you or something, you hide under those and they can't get you. And I kind of just did that, and eventually, like, Harbinger was kind of coming up beside me.
That's where, I mean,
unload.
Maybe it was easy for me because the dash, I would equip the dash, and if you upgrade the dash, you cloak at the end of your dash, and they can't see you anymore. It's very nice.
That's pretty cool.
This is what I was talking about before. Is it almost feels like you need to cheat to beat the bosses, which is so not fun. Like, or get lucky, like I was saying.
Or explore the game and upgrade properly.
Or do that.
Which I admit is a balancing issue. Like, if you don't do that, you're definitely at a disadvantage with these bosses.
So what I did, Sean, is on top of one of the, I guess, balconies or whatever you'd call them, there was a, what do they call it? Hard light or whatever this sentinel beam ammo is, refilling station.
Right.
So I literally just stood there and just blasted the shit out of everyone. And then just reloaded, refilled, and I was unstoppable. And during the waves, when they're coming out of those doors, once I did it once, I knew what door they came out of, so I literally just went and stood at the door and blasted them all before they could get out with that sentinel beam. And then I just ran back to the refill station, reloaded, and I was set to go. And it made it very, very easy. So I don't know. I didn't have that much luck with the other enemies that had shields usually with the sentinel beam, but for some reason I was able to take advantage of that big guy with that method. Now I did have to jump down a few times and like grapple back up to kind of like avoid him before I beat him. But but that technique seemed to work for me. But I mean, obviously you did it already, so no point in really going over it again. But
all right,
for anyone listening,
I'm calling it. We're done with Halo. Review over.
Do we want to bring up the spoiler at the end? That Atriox is actually not dead?
Didn't remember that?
That's like the last cutscene. He walks out and takes the thing. Or puts the thing on.
But that's not. But you didn't fight Atriox in the game.
I thought you did in the beginning.
No, that's...
Don't you fight him in the beginning and he kills you? Or he's the one who kicks you out?
Yeah, he is
and
the
then
guy
the ship
you're fighting
explodes?
at the very beginning. But I was confused about that too. Escharum is the other guy, the other big boss that you fight right before the Harbinger. And I kept forgetting. I couldn't remember if he was the one you fought at the beginning. But according to this, it's Atriox.
Yeah, it's Atriox. But Atriox kills you at the beginning.
Yeah,
right.
But then they talk about how he's dead like through the whole game.
Oh, yeah, but you don't kill him. You don't know that he's dead.
Well, there's a lot of deaths that seem to happen off screen that they don't talk about.
Well, Atriox is a better name. I'm glad they're alive. So thanks for listening. Check us out on Twitter. Huck is Mind Greed Commute and Equilibrium Sis. Sean is Film Junk. I'm not there. Check out our Discord link on YouTube, which is youtube.com/Game Junk. We'll see you next time. Bye-bye.